going to stick with it for a little bit. We had one particular person that contributed to the questions who wanted to ask this about your just total initiatives. Now, this doesn't mean zero trust initiatives. I guess what they're really trying to get to here is, what are your top initiatives as CISOs? And then does zero trust fit into them? So not specific to zero trust, but overall as a CISO, what are your top initiatives right now over the next 12 months? Graham, will you start for us?
Sure. So my top 5 initiatives, and these aren't in any particular order, data center workload segmentation, so think micro-segmentation, identity and access governance, so the automation of our provisioning processes and compliance requirements, a network transformation and network segmentation project, privilege access management, and API security for our built and managed applications.
Right. And then I would have to imagine zero trust is going to fit into at least 4 of those.
Yeah, API security, I mean, in a way it fits into all of them, but definitely the core would be that data center and network transformation are very zero trust-ish. The IGA is actually just more about automation and efficiency. And then API security is sort of, well, that's your residual attack surface. So we want to make sure that we have that covered and protected.
And Graham, Bill and I recently did an IGA panel, so we can revert back to that if you want to get into that.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that one.
We did a good one on that. So
yeah.
Bill, how about you? What are your top initiatives over the next 12 months?
Yeah, so unsurprisingly, the identity access and governance update. We have a good program, but it's out of date and needs update. And so I consider that core to a zero trust strategy. Eliminating legacy applications and systems is big on our list because of the nature of our company. We went through a bankruptcy. We didn't spend money on updating things for years. And legacy applications and systems are an impediment to zero trust. No matter what you do, the modern solutions aren't going to fit with a lot of them. And so I'm left with that garbage sitting there. And that's a huge attack surface, right? We are beginning a major SAP update, along with a lot of business process reengineering to fit the modern view of SAP. And although it's a little off track to zero trust, audit ability of SAP, and especially the provisioning and privileged roles that exist and access to data does have relevance in that event. And we'll be looking for how we can define that in the sense of zero trust. We're going to be conducting a kind of a full-blown reevaluation of where we stand against NIST cybersecurity standards and attempt to determine a new gap analysis and use that to help prioritize things. I imagine some, if not all of those, could be really related to zero trust. And then a maybe, which we don't know if we can fund it in the next year or not, but we lack visibility to SaaS and cloud access. So a CASB or some sort of access control system for the Salesforce, Ivanti, Office 365 use cases. We're hoping to do something that would hit the majority of those and improve at least visibility, if not direct control.
Excellent, Bill. I really do appreciate it. How about you, Raj? What are your top initiatives looking out for the next year?
Right. So I am on the company's executive leadership team. So all of my initiatives are weaved into the business initiatives, right? So we try, because I speak up anytime anybody tries to do something, say, hey, what about the security aspect of these things, right? So for me, like the number one for us is our secure migration to cloud, right? So all of us are in our secure migration journeys across the board in the industry, right? And we are trying to do the same. So we are in a hybrid cloud type of an ecosystem with public-private cloud. And then, we also have some private data centers. So I am trying to make sure that, the speed at which the CIO is trying to move and take our entire portfolio to public cloud, they obviously don't step on themselves and fall down with their face first. So making sure that all of this happens in a secure manner, right? So that is a big initiative for us, and we are way deep in the weeds with them and really leading from the front by actually designing all the security patterns that we tell them, okay, if you want to migrate your workload from your private cloud to public cloud, this is the pattern you must use, right? And we are getting into like, lots of design with them and making sure secure implementations. And obviously we are a NIST-based shop, so making sure that, proper security paradigms apply, and zero trust is the primary guidance for us there, right? And we can get into the nitty details if somebody wants to. So that's one initiative. The second one for us is, we are on our digital enablement journey for our application portfolio, right? We came out of as a legacy insurance company, right? And as you know how insurance companies are, we have a lot of, technology there. We have legacy apps, mainframe, and, stuff that is old. So we are trying to digitally enable all of our portfolio, right? And obviously some of that has also been sped up by the work from home situation, because if insurance companies have a lot of paper, manual stuff. We pass paper around, and it goes through the whole bureaucratic way of how government offices are. Well, that's how insurance companies are, right? So, but working from home, not having access to printers, not being in a call center, data center, contact center, right, has really sped up our digital journey. And so what our role as security professionals is to make sure that this is done in a secure manner. We give them the technologies, enablement, right, how they can do so about that. So I think that we are playing a critical role there. Also, it means, for mobile enablement of all of our stack, B2B, B2C relationships, how to do them securely in a digitized world, right? So I think that's what is a big initiative across the board for the firm, and we are intrinsically engaged in that. And zero trust is a factor there, I can say, right? Because again, we want to make sure that we don't make any silly mistakes when we digitally enable the most of our application portfolio, right? So that's one. And then, like most of you said, identity and access management. So, and that is a whole portfolio of things that we are doing. First of all, making sure that, traditionally insurance companies are generally, they have two stacks. They have external identities, and then they have internal identities, right? And generally they are split. We are trying to combine them. A holistic, identity provider with a service provider model. So that is the identity access management governance ecosystem. Also, that encompasses all of API security, and privileged access management, and FIM tools and all those type of stuff. So that is all inclusive of that. That is something that has been going on and will continue going on for another year or two till we get to a clean state there. So that's one. Then I think from a pure security perspective, we are moving towards passwordless. So that is an enterprise initiative for us. So biometric authentication and passwordless wherever possible. And this is not just for employees, right? Employees are easy to do. I can force them into Windows Hello. I can force them into biometric authentication. But how can I make this paradigm available for my customers, the 20 million customers that we have, right? So how can I slowly move them into passwordless ecosystem? So that is a company-wide initiative, because I think the user interaction is brittle sometimes. If you have, and users hate, these tokens and emails that are coming, or SMS messages, or biometric, right? So I think that how to make it simpler and easier for the user to securely, log into our ecosystems, use our consumer services, right, is something that is important to us. And last but not the least, again, pure cybersecurity this time is, how to automate my incident response ecosystem, reactive response, right? So adoption of real artificial intelligence, not the buzzword, right? So how to convert our, our supervised machine learning algorithms into unsupervised. How to, take the use cases where we have human intervention in incident response, right, and make it in a reactive response manner with orchestration, with our automation work. So I think that is something that we are paying a lot of attention to, because the threats keep increasing, right? And we just cannot hire people at that speed, and neither do we have the budget, because we are obviously a cost center, like most of you are, I'm assuming, right? So we cannot just, exponentially keep increasing our budget. So I think that, again, automation is the key for us, and that's why we're trying to go in that direction.
And that's fantastic. We're really getting into some of the use cases too, which is going to help us save some time as we get into the next questions. Real quickly, it pisses me off when I hear that cost center thing. It really gets to me. We've gone so far on the CIO side where, every company is now a digital company. Every company is a tech company. And I just can't wait for that to change on the security side too. But that's a separate topic. Security should not be viewed as a cost center going forward, but that's just me. Chuck, real quick.
But one comment I can make on that is that, at least because I'm on the leadership team, right? So I challenge the team, but by other leaders by saying, you know what, we have some really smart people on the security team, right? So we are now, as they have given me some funding to actually create security products, which generally we don't do, not in the insurance world, especially, right? So we are trying to now create, in our investor day, we're going to talk to the street about, okay, what security services are we going to offer in addition to the financial services that we offer, right? We're going to bake them into as a security service, like identity proofing, and like identity stealing, protection against those type of paradigms and otherwise, right? And also how to write secure data aggregators, which is something that we use and we are trying to create. So I think the security team is trying to shed that image of being a cost center as well by being an enabler of the business and also create revenue streams.
That's fascinating on the exact revenue stream. I wasn't even thinking that side. So that's really interesting. We'll get into maybe some other time. I can follow up on that. Chuck, to you, what are your top initiatives right now, and does Zero Trust fit in with them?
Yeah, so whenever I present to the board, I always end with my 3 areas, and those areas drive multiple activities and projects. So I talk about response, regulations, and resources. And Raj, I think you hit it on the head there. We can't just throw people and dollars and money at this stuff. We have to get to automation. We have to get good at response. I think we all know that, the luck may run out and we'll get hit. We'll be that company that gets hit. But it really boils down to forget all the controls, forget all the tools we put in place. All the company really cares about at that point is how fast do we get back to business as normal. So for me, my absolute number 1 is response, getting as good at response as we can. And that encompasses all kinds of projects. Yes, Zero Trust plays a role in that, more of a preventative side role, but it does play a role of being in a position to get back to normal operations as quickly as possible, whether it's through doing a lot of tabletops to be prepared, doing, simulated attack software that's running all the time. All of those things come into play. Having a plan with our factories for PCs that can be put down if that PC got bricked, or restoring back to a gold image as quickly as possible. So all those different things we're working on, but that's what I would say my number 1. On the regulation side, it drives a whole lot of stuff. First off, just keeping up with the regulations. We're global. We've got UNEC regulations. We make trucks. That's what PACCAR does. We make Kenworth, Peterbilt, DAF trucks. We have a lot of new regulations coming around connected vehicles. I don't necessarily own product security, but I'm having to get pretty involved in product security and working with these teams to make sure that we have the tools, the processes, that we're meeting those regulations. And that's just one of the regulations. There's many, many out there, but that drives a lot of activities that we're doing from a security perspective. OT security falls into that as well. So do we have the right things in place to build the trucks and be able to vet that, yes, they are as built, there are no security flaws in either ours or our third parties, which is a whole nother program for us, is third party, fourth party, fifth party risk management.